show you something. He said, there is a painting that I have coveted for 17 years, and I just outbid everyone in New York at Sotheby's, and he said, I got it. $82 million for this painting. 82 million, Tony, you've got to see it. It's going to blow you away. So I'm like, on my way. What do you think I'm dreaming about as I'm driving? I'm picturing this painting, the Mona Lisa, some Renaissance picture, right? I show up and it's a big fucking red square. In the art world, you call it a Rothko. I call it a big fucking red square. Because that's all, it's red, it's got a little tinge of orange, just for some fucking variety in the middle of the state. And it's $82 million. And I looked at the painting and I said, Steve, give me $100 in 5 minutes. I can do this shit. He's like, what are you talking? He's a little annoyed. I said, no. And I was teasing him. He goes, no, you don't understand the story. This man committed suicide. I said, well, that must be his fucking blood for $82 million. Right? And so, and I teased him a bunch, but then in the end, here's why I'm telling you this. Truthfully, I respect him. Because he's much more sophisticated than me. I can't get $100 worth of value out of that picture. And he gets $82 million worth of pleasure staring at that fucking red square. That shows you what the human fucking mind can pull off. So here's what I can tell you. There are no rules in science for fulfillment, but there are a couple principles that are part of it. One principle is really simple. You have to grow to be fulfilled. You grow or you die. If your business is not growing, there's no business that it's not growing, that's okay. It's growing or it's dying. There's no fucking plateaus in business. You tell yourself that, you're gonna wake up in trouble. If you are not growing in your relationship is dying. Now some people, the relationship's dead and they stay together their whole life, but it's dying if it's not growing. Who's with me on this, right? So the bottom line is we gotta grow. But we really grow, I believe, because then we have something to give, because the sense of giving, everybody wants to get, but when you really get and get and get, it gets pretty fucking old. Nobody wants to be someone who's a taker. They might think they are, but once you do that enough, you will wake the fuck up. Or you have the chance to, at least. Not everybody does. And so, contribution, as corny as it sounds, the thing that changed my life 35 years ago was, I won't tell you the story, it's too long, but I woke up driving my car, and as I woke up, I was in my head, and I pulled him aside around, it was midnight, and I wrote, I still have the journal, The Secret to Living is Giving, and I realized I was so upset because I was so focused on what I wasn't getting, I wasn't focused on what the fuck I was giving. And when I made that shift, my life started to shift. So we've got to have those two elements to feel alive, and if you don't, it doesn't matter how many Academy Awards you get in this town, or Emmys, or musical awards, or whatever the fuck it is, how much money, how many people love you, how famous you are, the shit that people believe is gonna make them fulfilled never the fuck does, because I get the phone calls from the multi-billionaires who want me to come in and help them tweak something in their business. That's what they're asking for, but I know what they need underneath is they're fucking miserable or they're unfulfilled. And so I give them what they want, and then I give them what they need. Now, I'll give you a perfect example of this if you're not convinced that the art of fulfillment is more important than the science of achievement. I'll give you a simple example I think you'll be able to relate to. 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago, we lost what I would consider to be a national treasure in this country, Robin Williams. How many of you, raise your hand, if you liked Robin Williams, don't raise your hand, if you had a love for this man, even you didn't know him, raise your hand if you love this man, nice and high, let me see your hands. And keep your hand up if it's up, and look and see the percentage of the room that love this man. It's about 99% of the room. There's only 1% assholes in this room that fucking hate fuckers. Now, why do I bring that up? Was Robin Williams a master of the science of achievement, yes or no?
Yes.
He dreamed of having his own TV show. Ever told me he's insane. He's like everyone else comes to Hollywood with dreams and most people never realize them. He realized it. He persisted, he changed, he found parts of himself that most people didn't even know existed. And then he wanted the #1 show. They said that's never going to happen, and some of you are old enough, ancient enough to remember him working Mindy, and he pulled it off, right? And then after doing that, he said, I'm going to have the greatest family, and he did that. Then he said, I'm going to make more money than I could spend, and he did it. Then he still wasn't fulfilled, so he said, I'm going to make movies, that'll do it. And he made movies, and then he went, you know what, I got to win an Academy Award, that'll do it. Then he went, no, I'm going to win an Academy Award for not being funny, my primary skill. A dramatic Academy Award, which he did. And he made the whole world laugh, which was his goal. And I've spent the last year, as I've gone around the world, I've been in Brazil, I've been in London, I've been in Toronto, I've been in China, Beijing, everywhere I've asked this question this year out of curiosity, and everywhere on earth, in rooms of 8,000 to 10,000 people, in countries all over the world, 95 to 98% of people raised their hand not saying they like him, saying they loved him. And he hung himself. How the fuck do you explain that? He had everything. Hundreds of millions of people loving him. All of us lost him, but fuck us. How about what really matters? He left his children. He left his wife scarred. Why? Because success without fulfillment is the ultimate fucking failure on earth. He made everybody happy except whom? That's a tragedy. You know, you get on an airplane, the first thing they say to you is, if we run into trouble and we lose oxygen, these masks are going to drop. And the first thing you should do is put it on your child. What are you supposed to do?
Yourself.
Put yourself. Doesn't it sound like a selfish fucking approach? Your kid's gasping for breath. Oh, let me give myself some fucking. But the reason is, if you don't do it while you're trying to give it to them, you're going to pass out, and you can't help anyone if you don't help yourself. And so it's not selfish. It's actually the least selfish thing you can do. So what am I leading you towards? A decision, if you're up for it. Decision is the only thing that changes our fucking lives. It's not our conditions. Everybody has shitty conditions. Everybody experiences injustice, some more than others, but we all face this. It's never the conditions, it's always the decisions. And it's in the moments of your decision that your destiny is fucking shaped. So you better choose well. So what would be the most important decision to shape your life? Well, right now in this moment, every one of you are making 3 decisions. The only question is, are you making them consciously or unconsciously? If they're unconscious, it's a habit, you're unaware of it, and your life won't change. You'll keep doing the same things over and over again and being frustrated. If you become aware of it, you can take control of it. 3 decisions you're making right now. Decision 1, what are you going to focus on? Whatever we focus on, we feel, even if it's not true. Have you ever thought somebody was screwing you over, doing something horrible, they're a friend, you were so angry, upset, you finally confronted them, and then you figured out you were fucking wrong? Who's ever been dead wrong and felt like a fucking idiot here? Raise your hand and say aye. Aye. So what we focus on, we feel, so we better decide to focus, because focus equals feeling. Focus equals reality to the individual, even though it's not reality in actuality. And there are dozens of patterns of focus, but let me give you 3 so you can engage. Which one of these patterns of focus do you use most? Do you tend to focus more on what you have or what's missing? Tell me yours out loud. Just say it out loud. How many of you focus more? I'm sure you do both. How many focus more on what's missing when you see your hands? Keep your hands up, look around the room. A vast majority. How many focus more on what you have? Okay? So maybe 60-40, maybe 65-35 in this room, but the majority of what's missing. Now just use your own intelligence. If you're constantly focusing on what's missing, if you focus on what's missing right now, then it might give you a drive to change it, which is a healthy thing. But if you're constantly focusing, the majority of your focus is on what's missing, how the fuck are you ever going to have a fulfilled or happy life? And it'll never be enough, because you'll always be focused on what's missing. So whatever you get, you don't fully appreciate. There's a rule that fucks people's lives up. It's called the law of familiarity. Law of familiarity is simple. You get around anything enough, you'll tend to take it just a little bit for granted if you don't consciously combat it. It's the way human beings work. You were thinking this person, you were dreaming, could they go out with you, would they date you, would they kiss you, would we ever have sex? Oh my God. And now you're married and been together 20 years, good morning. What the fuck happened? The law of familiarity is what the fuck happened, right? So the decision of what to focus on is one of the most important decisions, and watch this. How many of you focus more on what you can control, or do you focus more on what you can't control? How many focus more on what you can't control? Raise your hand. Now this is an achiever audience, so notice how many focus on what you're going to control. Let me see your hands. Yes, almost all of you came here, and if you've been to an event or you pursue things of that nature, you came because you want to take more fucking control. But that's also helped you be somewhat healthy, because watch this, one more. Which of these do you tend to focus on more? Your past, your present, or your future? I know you spend time all 3 places, but where do you spend more of your time? Past, your present, or your future? What would you say? How many focus more on the past? More on the present? More on the future? A very future-oriented group, again, taking charge, but here's in a pattern to give you an example. How many of you in this room know someone who is depressed and takes antidepressants? They take antidepressants and they're still fucking depressed. How many know somebody like this? Raise your hand. Keep your hand up if you know someone who takes antidepressants and they're still depressed. It's about 98% of the room. Now, how's that possible? Because all that drug does is numb someone. It doesn't solve the source of the problem. And if you're numb enough, you just survive, but you never transform, and it's there. Most of us in this room, by the age of 21, saw 1 million commercials about how to instantly get out of pain. And so we think we're supposed to get out of pain when pain can drive you to fucking change things. But when you numb yourself, it won't happen. Plus, these drugs on the side, it says, if you're under 24, it creates suicidal thoughts. Magically at 25, somehow these thoughts disappear. I'm not going to tell you how it works, right? So here's what I can tell you. I can give you every antidepressant in the world, but if this is your pattern, if you're focused constantly on what's missing and what you can't control, put those two together, and maybe your past is the third one that you can't change, and you're going to be pissed off, frustrated, sad, and fucking depressed. And it doesn't matter who puts drugs in your body. So second decision is, what does something mean? Because as soon as you focus on it, you say, what does this mean? Is this the end or the beginning? Which one for you? Is this person harassing you? Is this person fucking with you? Are they disrespecting you? Are they coaching you? Or are they actually loving you? Whichever one you pick is going to determine what you feel. And that feeling is going to control your third decision, which is what are you going to do? See, meaning equals emotion, and emotion is your life. Everyone has an emotional home they get back to. Just like you have a house, a home. Some people live in a shitty neighborhood and they keep going back there because it's what they know. But the worst one is we have an emotional home. Some people, no matter what they do, get $1 billion, but every day what they come back to is pissed off and frustrated. There's nothing worse than an angry rich man or woman. You just want to slap the shit out of them, don't you? But if you're focused constantly on what you're angry and pissed off about, you don't have $1 billion. That's not the quality of your life. The quality of your life is pissed off and frustrated. How many follow? So the decision what to focus on, the decision what things mean, the decision what to do, they're happening all the time. But the decision I want to bring you to is a little different. If you'd asked me 1.5 years ago, any time up until now, what's the most important decision in your life? I'd say who you spend time with, who you love. Because who you spend time with is who you become, both friends and certainly intimates. And so I still believe that's one of the most important things in your life. But my wife and I both agree, as much as we believe that's the most important decision, there's one that's even more. Suffering is what most people do. And if you're an achiever, as I've been, if you'd asked me 1.5 years ago, do you suffer? I would have laughed at you. Suffer? What the fuck are you talking about? I have 4 unbelievable children. I have the woman of my fucking dreams. I have such freedom. I have a mission. I help millions of people. I have so much love in my life. Walk me on the street and I've stopped 12 times a day. Someone tell me, I love you, you changed my life. Pretty fucking amazing life. But I did suffer. I just would never call it that because it was inconsistent with my identity. See, if you go to an achiever and go, what are you fearful of? Achievers go, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm not fearful. I'm just stressed. Because see, stress is the achiever word for fear. If I follow your stress, it'll lead me to your deepest fucking fear. Everybody's got it. Suffering. What if everything in life, I was in India this year with a friend of mine, brilliant guy. He said, you know, you always talk about peak states, you know, if you're in a peak state and handle anything, and in a shitty state, no matter how smart you are, it's not going to go well. He said, what if you change the language to, because we were talking about suffering, he said, there's only 2 states to be in. There's suffering states and there are beautiful states of being. I said, that's consistent with what I teach. I like that little tweak of the language. And he said, let's talk about that. So suffering would be, as an example, do you get frustrated somewhat consistently? Do you get angry? Do you get a little overwhelmed? Do you get stressed? Do you get worried? Do you get concerned? All of those are suffering. How many would agree they put suffering in the body? If you agree, say aye. But it would be inconsistent to call it that. I'm here today to have you maybe wake up and realize that you've been suffering. Now, if you would have said this to me 1.5 years ago, I'd say, yeah, that's not, well, maybe it's suffering, but it's part of life to get frustrated. It's part of life to get pissed off. And I'm here to tell you that's fucking bullshit. It's part of the mind to do that. Because this mind, this brain, to be specific, is 2 million years old. And it has one purpose. It's survival software in there. And that survival software for 2 million years has been there, and it's always looking for what could hurt you, and it's magnifying it so you'll take action to either fight it or flight from it. And the only problem is we don't have a saber-toothed tiger to worry about anymore, so now we make shit up to make into problems. We suddenly worry life and death. What is this person thinking of me? Or do I have enough money? And if you're in this room, if you're in this fucking country, if you are total in poverty in this country, don't you ever fucking again talk about the 1% versus the 99, because you are the 1%. I love these people talking about we're the 99, those 1% people don't care about us. They're fucking liars. Because if you make $15,000 a year, you're the 1% of the world. If you are total poverty in the United States, you're the 1%. Half the world lives on $250 a day, $900 a fucking year. But isn't it convenient to see other people don't give a shit about you when you don't give a shit about anybody else on the planet? Right? That's what people do in their head. Those people are just suffering and they're looking for someone to blame. The only way out of suffering is twofold. One, to acknowledge it's real, and two, to make the most important decision of your life to fucking end it. And when I say end it, it doesn't mean it won't show up, because this brain doesn't stop giving you thoughts, finding things to worry about. The brain still does it. You just end suffering as it arises. Or maybe a better way of doing it is saying the most important decision of your life is decide I'm going to live in a beautiful state every day, no matter what, even when shit happens I don't like. Because if the only time you're happy is when it goes your way, you're not going to be happy very much. I have this great privilege now. I have 18 companies, 12 that I actively manage, 1,200 employees on 3 continents in 7 industries, and we do $5 billion a year. And I'm a kid from Azusa that even a few years ago, I didn't think close to that. Here's the problem. I discovered my happiness was really cheap. I give up my happiness so easily. All I needed was my phone. Because what are the chances right now, with 1,200 employees all over the world in all these industries, what are the chances someone is fucking up right now as we speak? What are the chances? What's the percentage chance it's happening today? What's the chance? Tell me, what is it? 1%? 100%. So all I needed was my fucking phone. I get a text, an email. No phone calls, of course. We don't do that shit anymore. Right? All of that. Because I was wanting everyone to do what they're supposed to do in my model of the world. And life isn't that way. So no happiness can last. Now, if you ask me, I'd say I'm happy, but I'd be happy than not happy, happy than not happy, than not happy, until somebody didn't do what they're supposed to do in my model of the world. Here's what I know today. I expect people are going to do what they're going to do. And I know what they're going to do will have lots of variety, and much of it will not match my preferences. And that's all they are, is preferences, but we make our preferences life and death, and that's why we suffer. All suffering comes from one thing: obsessing about yourself. In fact, I'll give it to you. There's 3 triggers for suffering. 3 words that might be helpful for you to remember, because you can catch yourself when it happens. The first one is loss. If your brain says, you did something, she did something, the government did something, I did something, and because of, or I didn't do something I should have done, and because of that, I've lost love, or I've lost money, or I've lost opportunity, or I've lost space, or I've lost anything, you're going to suffer because you're obsessing on yourself. I don't mean caring for yourself, obsessing. The second one is less. If loss is not bad enough, it's an illusion of loss. But if loss is not bad enough, even less will fuck us up. The illusion of less. Oh my God, you fucking did that to me? Now I have less respect, less love, less joy, less this, less everything. And that'll make you suffer. And then the worst, never. Because I fucked this up, I'll never have this. Because I didn't do this, I'll never. Because you did this, it'll never happen. It's all fucking bullshit, it's the mind. What makes you suffer is believing your own thoughts, your own negative limiting thoughts. Who here has ever thought, I want to kill this motherfucker? Let me see your hand. Now, it wasn't a bad thought because you didn't believe it. If you believed it, you would have killed the motherfucker. So we all have those thoughts. And if you think your thoughts are upsetting your life, it's not your thoughts. Do you really think you're the first person who thought, I want to kill this motherfucker? Or I'm a stupid shit, or I shouldn't have fucking done that? Those thoughts have been around for millions of years. If I would have told you 100 years ago, you're going to have a little box in your pocket, and you're going to be able to push a button and see and talk to people on the other side of the earth, because invisible waves around the earth will come into your box and show you this. You'd be putting somebody away for that shit, wouldn't you? If you said we're going to go to the moon and back 100 years ago, they called you a lunatic. That's where the term comes from, lunatic. You're fucking crazy, but we have done that, right? So you gotta understand that for most of us, we don't realize the game of suffering, we're the only creatures that can have thoughts and make ourselves miserable, or have thoughts and make ourselves euphoric. But you gotta notice that these stupid thoughts are not yours, because if they're yours, you can't do anything about them. They're just fucking thoughts. So what I learned to do a year and a half ago, and I've been doing it more and more, it's like a muscle. The more you do it, the better you get. Is I made a 90-second rule. It should have been like a 4-day rule in the beginning, I think. 4-hour rule, but I finally got 90 seconds. And the 90-second rule says, suffering will arise because the brain will do that, but I kill that little bastard while it's little. The best time to kill a monster is when it's a baby monster, not when it's Godzilla eating your fucking city. So 90 seconds, catch it, and how I catch it, really simple. I breathe and slow things back down. I step out of it, and I see the thoughts go by and go, isn't that a crazy fucking thought? Isn't that interesting? Well, that's not my fucking thought. Some fucker came up with it 100 years ago, and I listened to that shit, but not any fucking more. And then I focus on something to appreciate, because the antidote to obsessing on yourself is to appreciate what is. And I decided that what's much more rare than a fucking billionaire is a person who's happy every fucking day, no matter what, because in that state, which sounds so positive thinking bullshit, it's not about that, it's about intelligence. Because if you're a beautiful state, by the way, beautiful's not just happy. Do you ever smile so much your face hurt? So we need variety. So a beautiful state could be happy, it could be joy, it could be grateful, it could be driven, it could be hunger, it could be creativity, it could be fun, it could be playful, it could be sexy. Those are all beautiful states, because when you're in those states, no one has to tell you what to do and there is no suffering. That's where your spirit and heart are alive instead of your mind. This mind's really useful. I've trained it to do a lot of great fucking things. It's a great strategist, it can help you achieve, but it'll never help you enjoy your life. You'll never even enjoy an apple with your mind, because your mind will go, is it organic? Where did it fucking come from? But your heart, your spirit can take the juice of this and light up like a Christmas tree. So I said, I want to be the happiest motherfucker alive. This is where I'm going to get really competitive with myself. I want to learn to find ecstasy in every moment. This moment, any moment, including the moments I don't fucking like. Because if I do that, then I got something most people never dream of. And here's the deal. He kind of stole the line from it, but it's true. Someone asked me the other day, that's what I was telling Joe, they said, how do you explain the kind of person that would do what happened in Paris or now Nice or San Bernardino or Orlando? And I said, I'm not going to tell you who did it, I'll tell you who didn't do it. A happy person. A fulfilled fucking person. Fulfilled people don't find other people and try to fucking kill them. Fulfilled people don't plot. Fulfilled people don't try to steal from someone else. These people are suffering. That's not an excuse, but it's the fucking truth. And so the greatest gift we can have is put that mask on ourselves first, so we can then give it to our children, so that we can give it to the world. Because you can't give shit to the world that you don't have. And I'm living it, and I'm not perfect, but I'm pretty good at this fucking 90-second thing now, because it's like a muscle. The more you do it, the better you get. And the level of liberation and freedom it's given me, from worry, concern, frustration, upset, they'll still show up, but they just disappear now. And as they disappear, life becomes more than magnificent. And then you have so much freedom in yourself that there's so much more that you can give everyone you love, including yourself. But here's the problem. We're so conditioned in the world we're in now to expect to get what we want on our terms instantaneously. The web has helped create these illusions inside of ourselves. The web has made us believe that we're in control, because we don't even have to interact. We can write shit, tear people down, we don't even have to fucking know who we are. There's so many ways to make it happen. I'll give you an example. I'm privileged enough now to have an intercontinental plane. I can fly anywhere in the world nonstop to China. It's changed my life. It's an unbelievable privilege. But most of my life, I've traveled. And thanks to a friend of mine when I was 30, he convinced me to charter planes. So I chartered domestically. It was too expensive to do that flying overseas. To go to Australia, it's 14 hours. So I was like, that's not happening. So for most of my life, I go to Australia twice a year, 3 times a year, 14 hours each way, a long way. Now I live on the East Coast, it's even longer, right? So it's like, this is crazy, and I'd get on the plane, and I would be stressed. Now what the fuck is stressful about sitting? Did you ever see something like, oh my God, you can't imagine what I went through. I flew here, and I sat on the runway for 45 minutes. They kept us, they wouldn't let us out. And we're sitting there for 45 minutes. I mean, it was the worst experience of my whole life. Oh yeah, and after 45 minutes, did you fly through the fucking air like a bird, you asshole? Did you watch a movie while you're flying? Birds can't do that shit. So I get on the plane, I'm feeling the stress. What's my stress? Oh my God, I got God forbid we be separated from Instagram or Facebook or tweeting for a while. 14 fucking hours, I'm missing out. I'm going to have more work to do when I get there. I'm going to be in a hole. All this shit in my head. And then they make an announcement. Cool announcement. Because, domestically, everybody's used to now having the internet available, but international, no. And the announcement this day is, we have internet. And it was like God descended into the plane. People literally stood up and cheered. People stood up and cheered and clapped. Facebook, oh my God. And I'm embarrassed to admit I wasn't standing, but I was clapping inside. Fuck yes. Right? Oh, this is the greatest thing in the world. And guess what happened within 15 minutes? It went down and never came up again for 14 hours. Nobody's checking for 14 hours. And what do you think people did when all of a sudden it went down? This is bullshit! What the fuck is this shit? What is this shit? Why don't they have internet? 15 minutes earlier, it was a fucking miracle. Now it's an expectation. You want to change your life tonight? Want to change your life forever? You want to catch yourself and free yourself? Trade your expectation for appreciation, and your whole life changes like that. Appreciation is the key. What if you were God? What if you're God, you create this incredible universe and world, and you give your creations these opportunities, and then you go to visit them. And you go, hey, I'm God, created you. Check it out. What do you think of this place I created for you? And a person says, well, shit, it's hot here. And you made all these irritating fucking people. Why couldn't you just make everybody nice, God? I mean, you could have done it anyway. Why would you make such assholes I have to deal with? And I'm exhausted. There's just not enough hours in the day. Why'd you make the day longer? And then you got these little red ants that fucking bite my ass and hurt me. Why would you even create these fucking red ants? What's wrong with you, God? Now, if you're God and you have that kind of feedback, are you going to want to spend time with this asshole? Hell no. In fact, people tell me, there is no God. No, there's God. You just bitch so much you can't even feel him. But what if you're God, you go to somebody else and you go, hey, I created you, I'm your God and stuff. What do you think of this world? It goes, oh my God, God, this is the most beautiful place. This is total paradise. You give me free will and choices. This incredible world, so many interesting people, so many beautiful challenges to make me grow. You even made these ants that are so fucking courageous. They'll even bite me. I'm 100 times their size. It's fucking amazing. You're a genius. Who do you want to spend time with if you're God? The first person or the second person? Who do you want to spend time with if you're not God? Which one are you? And I'm sure we're all the second person, except when we're not. And I'm suggesting let's eliminate the times you're not by living in a state of appreciation, which all it requires is the habit of looking for it. Because here's what's true. What's wrong is always available. Oh, we're in such horrible times. Does anybody fucking remember when there was a Soviet Union? Anybody old enough remember and they could push a button and we're all going to be fucking vaporized? Your chance of dying in a terrorist attack are 1 million times less than driving your car. You're more likely hit by lightning. It still happens. But you know what's interesting? When 9/11 happened, there's a certain amount of violence humanity seems to have a set point on, just like weight or money. And if you study in 9/11, all the normal criminal activity dropped through the floor when that violence happened to that city. It happens everywhere in the world when this occurs. It's happened in France. And then when it goes away, that violence springs back up again. It seems to be just a wave of energy or pattern. So you can live in fear and suffering, going, oh my God, it's the worst war in the world. You can go, holy fuck, we're living in a world where everything you could dream about is at your fingertips. Any question you want to answer is in your fucking pocket. We're living in a world where they've come up with CRISPR technology where they're going to be able to edit your DNA, they're already doing with animals, and change whatever's going on in you. We're living in a world where nanotechnology will put a small amount of nanotechnology in your blood, and if you have a heart attack, you'll have 4 hours to get to the hospital. You can hold your breath for 20 minutes. Ray Kurzweil's, they've already done it, just way too expensive, but it'll eventually get there. We're living in the most incredible time to be alive, and yet we're still fucking suffering? Nothing is going to free you except you. I can't do it for you, but I can bring you to where you do it for yourself. But it requires a real fucking decision, not a preference statement. It comes down to saying, you know what? I'm done with suffering. Life is too fucking short to suffer. I'm going to live every fucking day to the fullest because I don't know how long I'm going to live, and I'm going to love it. Now, by the way, that means you're going to be happy or in a beautiful state even if your husband or wife leaves you, even if they die. If your happiness decision is conditional, then you might as well just go home and suffer because it's going to happen the rest of your life. It is an awakening. It's about waking the fuck up and remembering I'm 100% responsible for my experience of this life. I can't control it, but I can decide what my experience is going to be. And with that, you have everything that other human beings are missing. So, if you want to take the island, burn your fucking boats. Because if you give yourself away to suffer, you will. Because that's the way the mind works. But if you put the line in the sand, and I'm not saying it's easy, it's not easy, but it's worth it. And like any skill, the more you do it, the better you'll get. And pretty soon you'll blow yourself away with the shit that used to make you crazy, and now you're just fucking free. You laugh at shit, you just let it go. Why wouldn't you let go when you can't? It's a lie. We can influence, but we can't control. And so people are all stressed out, I'm out of control. You were always out of control, asshole. You've never been in control. But you can't influence, and the most important thing influence is the internal world. Because if you master this world, the external world will become a paradise for you. But if you work on that one like everybody else does, and you're tortured in here, it doesn't matter what happens, you're not going to be fulfilled. This is why I came by today, not for Q&A. I came by because this is my mission. I have a spiritual vision. Everyone needs a vision for their relationship, for their business, and mine's simple. I'm going to live in a beautiful state as long as I live, and from that beauty, I'm going to bring more beauty to everyone that I meet, everyone I see, and I'm the example of what's truly possible. Not a bullshit example, just a real one. And I invite you to join me on this mission. I invite you to join me in a contest for happiness, for beautiful states, every fucking day, no matter what, finding something to be grateful for. Most of what's in your life today was once a dream. And your worst fucking nightmare, I promise you, is most of the planet's greatest dream. What we have is unbelievable. But when we don't appreciate it, we have nothing. Only one thing makes you wealthy: gratitude. If you got $1 billion, you're not grateful, pissed off, right? You got nothing and you're grateful, you're rich. You can make that decision. And so this is what that would look like. It would like right now, when would now be a good time? Making the decision while you're in the state to say, holy fuck, this is the most important decision of my life, or not, if you don't believe it is. But if you believe what I've said is true in your heart, not in mine, then you can't leave this room without making the decision. Or you can, and you'll just get to suffer the rest of your life like everyone else. And the way we do it, by the way, is we always find something to blame. Someone, including ourselves. And blaming someone, including yourself, is not being responsible. You're not able to respond when you're blaming yourself. You're beating yourself up. So freedom can only be given to you by you. No one else can do it for you. But you can be around some people that can remind you, wake you up and remind you that this is your choice. And then it just comes down to the exercise. So I'd like to give you a 2-minute exercise. It's one of millions of ways to do this, but I can do it in 2 minutes, and you've been so wonderful. How many of you have decided this is a decision worth making? If you haven't, it's totally cool. But who has decided this is a decision worth making? So then for that decision to be real, you're going to have to come up with enough reasons, and you're going to have to communicate it to some people you respect. Say, I am doing this, and if you see me off target, here's what I'd like you to say to me. So you don't get pissed off on it. So would you say to me, listen, it feels like you might be suffering. I don't know if you are. I have no judgment about it. I'm here for you if you need anything. So you don't make something wrong. My wife and I don't go, you're suffering, you have 90 seconds. That shit doesn't work. You do that fucking shit, you're both going to suffer. By the way, suffering begets more suffering. The real question is, what's your favorite flavor of suffering that you're addicted to? Some people's flavor is worry, some is anger, some is frustration, some is sadness. What's your favorite flavor in the past? Time to divorce it. Divorce your limiting beliefs. Divorce the lie and marry the truth that suffering is only done by a mind that is undirected. What's the difference between faith and fear? They're both made up. They're both your imagination. But fear is imagination undirected. Faith is imagination where you make a fucking decision to feel a certain way, to act a certain way, and it becomes real for you. That's it. So, how many of you do suffer and you recognize you suffer regularly? Let me see your hands if you can see this. Cool, that's the first step. So I can show you if I put an EEG and an EKG on you. I go into the hospital and we can see the electrical impulses in your brain and your heart. And 99% of the time in your life, it looks very jagged, like you usually see when you see a movie or something, right? Or if you're in the profession, you know. And the jaggedness is totally different for your brain than your heart. They don't look anything alike. But if all you do, which we're about to do for 2 minutes, is you breathe in your heart. We're going to physically put your hands on your heart so you feel it. I'm going to guide you through it. You're going to put all your focus on your heart, not your brain, not your head, your heart, for 2 minutes. And if while you're doing that, you focus on 3 things you're grateful for, and I'm going to guide you through that just for 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes, you will see something miraculous on the EEG and EKG. They first of all stop being jagged, they become extremely rounded like this, and they mirror each other identically, which means now your mind and your heart are operating as one. When you're in the flow, that's what's naturally happening. When you're stressed out, it's that jagged shit. You can change it in 2 minutes. Now, there are a million ways to do it, but I have to give you one real quick. Are you up for it?
Yes.
Stand up. Stand way too fucking long shit. Sit much. Shake your body up for a second. Shake it out. Shake it out. Got just for 5 seconds. Go to the person next to you, pretend you're a peak performance athlete, and give them a 5-second massage. The whole body, 5 seconds, real fast. Wake them up.
I made it.
Switch. Okay, stop. Shake your body out a little bit. Just shake it out. So here's what I want you to do. Let's take a situation where you may currently be suffering, you haven't called it that, and you probably are not even focused on it. So let's pick one. How many of you in this room have some unfinished business somewhere, in your business, in a relationship somewhere, and you put it off because you're busy, which really means you're fucking scared, right? You're stressed. How many have some area of your life, I want you to think, an area of your life, in business or your personal life, where there's something that needs to be handled, you haven't handled it, you're putting it off because it stresses you out. How many got something like this? Raise your hand if you got it. Ideally, pick a specific situation right now that you can think of that on a 0 to 10 scale, that if you were to focus on it, most of us just don't think about it so we don't feel stressed, right? Trying to hide from it. But if you were really feeling it, on a 0 to 10, where 0 is nothing and 10 is really stressed, pick something that's a 7 or above, 7, 8, 9, or a 10 or an 11 if that's your scale. Raise your hand if you can think of one that fits those criteria. It's unfinished business, it bugs you, it's stressful, and it's 7 or above. Let me see your hands. Awesome. So here's all I want you to do. Put both your hands on your heart, if you would, please. I want you to breathe deep in your heart. Close your eyes, it'll help you so you're not distracted. And just physically touch and breathe into the heart. Like feel the oxygen and the blood flowing into your heart. And as you're breathing your heart, think and feel the power of your heart, the strength of your heart, the beauty of your heart. What has your heart guided you to do or see or express or feel that you're grateful for or you're proud of? This heart beats 100,000 times a day. It pumps blood through 60,000 miles of blood vessels. With all your blood vessels together, they go around the earth twice at the equator. You want to feel grateful? Try this. You did nothing to earn this heart, did you? You didn't have to do a damn thing. You didn't have to be perfect. You didn't have to succeed. Something loved you enough to give you the gift of life, and with it came a heart. And as long as this heart beats, we live. You live. And the day it stops, it's over. Maybe a little love for your heart right now. Breathe into that heart. Be grateful for that heart. As you're breathing in your heart right now, just take a moment and focus on one moment in your life you could feel truly grateful for right now if you wanted to. It could be a memory from your childhood, midlife, adulthood, I don't care where it is. It could be a little thing or a big thing, but I want you to think of one specific moment that if you wanted to, you could feel so grateful. Step into that memory just for a moment as if you were there. See what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you felt. And just fill up with gratitude for the magic of that moment, for the miracle of that moment, for the blessing that that moment was in your life. Truly a blessing. Feel it. Fill up with the gratitude. You If you got one that feels good, say yes.
Yes.
Say yes.
Yes.
Think of a second moment now you could feel truly grateful for. It could be any moment in your life that you treasure. A moment you could feel so grateful for right now if you wanted to. Step in and feel it like you're there. Feel it. What would the look be on your face if you were filled with gratitude about that moment right now? How do you breathe when you feel filled with gratitude, with joy, with appreciation? Take it in. And finally, a third moment that you could feel grateful for. Step in it like you're there. Feel it. Enjoy it. Breathe it in. Fill up with gratitude. The two emotions that mess us up most is anger and fear. And you know what? You can't be fearful and grateful simultaneously. You can't be angry and grateful simultaneously. So fill up with gratitude on this moment as well. And then just for a moment, think of a coincidence you're grateful for. As I said, life is always happening for us, not to us. What's the coincidence that led to something beautiful in your life that you're so grateful for? Led to a friendship or a love or an insight or an opportunity. Feel the gratitude for that coincidence. And then one more coincidence you could feel grateful for that led to something beautiful. Were these coincidences or were you guided? Now, right now, you're in a beautiful state. If you're breathing your heart, you're feeling grateful. So from this beautiful state, keep breathing your heart, keep feeling this gratitude, and think of a situation that's bothered you, but stay in your heart and answer this question from your heart as you breathe and feel filled with gratitude. In that situation, all I need to focus on, all I need to remember, all I need to believe about that situation, all I need to do is what? Breathe in your heart, filled with gratitude, and just ask yourself about that situation from your heart, not your head. All you need to focus on in that situation is what? All I need to remember, all I need to believe, all I need to do in that situation is what? And your heart knows the answer, doesn't it? Raise your hand if you know what you need to do or need to feel or experience. Raise your right hand above your head, nice and high. If you know, keep your hand up. And if it's up, open your eyes and look around the room and see the percentage of people that have resolved what was bugging them that they've done nothing about, and it took 2 minutes. This might be a good start for you. Thank you for an evening of your life. God bless you all. Take care of yourself.